That Trump just came right out and said yesterday, we can't afford Medicare, we can't afford Medicaid, we can't afford daycare, we just should be having the military. Trump was at a speaking engagement at the White House, and I mean, this is crazy. He said, and I quote, this is a verbatim quote, this is the Easter lunch event at the White House. It was supposed to be private, by the way. And the White House put up the video, which includes his spiritual advisor comparing him to Jesus. I'll get to that in a minute. And, you know, they got some blowback, and so they took it down. So this has vanished now, but this is the quote. He said, and I quote, "It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, and all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. We can't do it on the federal level. We can take care of one thing, military protection." Now, that is actually not just a slip of the tongue or some weirdness. I mean, that's the essence of Project 2025. That is the platform that David Koch ran for president or vice president of the United States on in 1980, the late David Koch. Here's his platform. We urge the repeal of federal campaign finance laws. We favor the abolition of Medicare and Medicaid. We oppose any compulsory insurance or tax-supported plan to provide health services. We favor the repeal of the fraudulent and increasingly oppressive Social Security system. We propose the abolition of the governmental postal service. We oppose all personal and corporate income taxation. We support repeal of all laws which impede the ability of any person to find employment, such as minimum wage laws. We advocate the complete separation of education and state. You know, he's shutting down the education department now. We condemn compulsory education laws. We support the repeal of all taxes on income. We support abolition of the Department of Energy. We support abolition of the Environmental Protection Agency. We call for the dissolution of all government agencies concerning transportation, including the Department of Transportation. We advocate the abolition of the Federal Aviation Administration. We support, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The privatization of our inland waterways. We oppose all government welfare relief projects and aid to the poor programs. We call for the repeal of OSHA. We call for the abolition of the Consumer Product Safety Commission. I mean, this was literally David Koch's platform when he ran for vice president. It is the libertarian platform, and that is what Trump said yesterday at the White House in this private Easter luncheon thing, that basically, yeah, the federal government should only have one responsibility, and that's to protect the country. In other words, you know, we should have the military, and we should pay for it with tariff revenue rather than income taxes, so that we can do away with the income tax. I mean, this has been the libertarian, the Koch brothers, and all these other guys. This has been their dream for years and years and years. And Project 2025 has taken us down there, where people keep wondering, you know, why is he why did he kill off this program that was keeping veterans in their homes? Because the billionaires don't want to pay their damn taxes to support it. So this is wild. It's not so much that pharmaceuticals travel through the Gulf on ships. It's that they travel through the Gulf on giant airplanes. You know, one of the things that a lot of people just haven't been paying attention to, I keep track of it because, you know, I'm a pilot and I love to travel, and so there's a couple of Facebook groups that have to do with, and other social media groups that have to do with, you know, international travel and pilot stuff. And Emirates is just a massive airline, you know, out of the UAE, and there's others. There's a bunch of airlines based out of the Gulf, and they haul a lot of cargo, including pharmaceuticals from India to the United States. And since their airports are being bombed and they're under constant threat of drone attack, there's an awful lot of people and material not flying through the Middle East. And this is the American Society of Health System Pharmacists just published this list of drugs that are in short supply because of Trump's illegal criminal war against Iran. They include ADHD medicines like Adderall and Vyance. Hospitals are dealing with shortages of injectable medications, including lidocaine, fentanyl, ketamine, ketorolac, dopamine. Dubodamine, midazolam, propofol, and lorazepam, heparin, low dose, cancer drugs, including carboplatin and methotrexate. Basic hospital fluids are also being affected. Sodium chloride irrigation, sterile water for injection, sodium bicarbonate. And they note the Middle East is not a huge source of medicine production, but it is the major route for air cargo and shipping, which matters for these drugs and raw materials. Also, they're looking at shortages of amoxicillin and penicillin G-bethazine, whatever the heck that is. Some new modern version of penicillin or something, I'm guessing. So, wild stuff. And Donald Trump goes on TV last night and says, don't worry, it's just going to magically reopen, just like, remember, COVID was going to magically go away. Oxfam is out with a new report today. This is the 10th anniversary of the Panama Papers being revealed. The Panama Papers, of course, that blew wide open this international ring of billionaires and accountants and banks that were hiding billionaire money from all over the world so that it wasn't taxed. And the Oxfam report is based on the work of the French economist Gabriel Zucman and the EU Tax Observatory. And what they found is that the total amount of wealth being held offshore right now is up to a little over $13 trillion. And $3.5 trillion of that is being held in a way that absolutely shields it from any taxation at all. 80% of that wealth, $2.84 trillion, is likely to be owned by the richest 0.1% of households. I'm guessing it's more like the richest 1/1000%, but a tiny group. Christian Hallam, Oxfam's lead on tax, said when millionaires and billionaires stash trillions of dollars in offshore tax havens, they place themselves above the obligations that bind the rest of society. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. This is what we're seeing with the destruction of the Department of Education, the destruction of the CDC, the destruction of the Department of Energy, the destruction of the EPA, agency after the laying off 200,000 federal workers, gutting Social Security. These are all ways of lowering the cost of government so that taxes can be reduced on billionaires and trillionaires. And, well, we don't have trillionaires yet. Elon Musk is in line. Billionaires and multimillionaires. And it's starving our government. This is this libertarian / Republican / Heritage Foundation / Russell Vote / Donald Trump worldview that Trump just came right out and said yesterday. We can't afford Medicare. We can't afford Medicaid. We can't afford daycare. We just should be having the military. That's the libertarian sales pitch. That was when David Koch ran for vice president on in 1980, in the 1980 election. He got 1 million votes. This is what the libertarians have been pushing forever, that the only legitimate function of government is basically police and military. And it's completely incompatible with having a middle class. It's completely incompatible, frankly, with having a free society. But this is what they want. This is where they're going. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.